They wash out all the curry chicken.
Alright, let's start now.
Father, we come before you once again to give you all the honor, to give you all the praises, Father. We ask that you touch Pastor Patrick in a special way, touch it from the crown of his head to the crown of his feet, that whatever he presents, he will present with clarity and with eloquence. So let us be able to see it. And as we have a discussion more about marriage, Father, we ask that you submit yourself and you listen to your message. We ask to say more than me what your son Jesus Christ says.
Good. Last time we talked about marriage vows, for better or for worse. And among the things we said was that marriage there's a biblical foundation for marriage. From Genesis, when God said it is not good for man to be alone. And so he made woman to be a help, meet for the man, which meant that the woman would be beside the man, walking along, and not behind the man or in front of the man. So the two were to be in supportive roles to each other. The Bible also says that in a marriage, the two become one flesh. And so this speaks of the unity that should exist in marriages. Very often, we think today in terms of marriage as you and me, or as separate beings, but the ideal for the church, for God, is the two should be one. And we must bear this in mind, that we're going as one in one direction with one objective. In the New Testament, Paul says that the church represents the love of Christ, or demonstrates the love of Christ is demonstrated in terms of a marriage, where the relationship between Christ and the church is like a man and a woman in marriage. And so this brings us to this point where we can see that this unity is not just a physical unity, but it goes beyond the physical unity. And with that kind of background, then we must understand that indeed the two parties in a marriage really are one. This is what God wants. Now we talk a little bit about the vows, the marriage vows. And you want to look at your vows, review your vows, think about your vows, and perhaps see whether they still relate to how you feel today. One sentence I wanted to highlight on page 26. It says, a promise kept is the very essence of commitment. It is a seed sprouting and cultivating trust, the evidence of love as a verb and not as a noun. Right? When we talk about marriage being a commitment, a lifelong commitment, and this is expressed in the vows that you made. You must see these vows as pledges in the presence of Christ, making Christ a party in this whole pledge. So it's not just a contract between two persons, it's a covenant with three persons, the two partners and Christ. And this gives it the kind of influence that we want a marriage to have. We talk about Christian marriages here, I don't know about other marriages, but the Christian marriage, this is how it must be seen. Alright, now this matter of trust is important, because in a marriage there must be trust. If there is not trust, then the marriage will unravel at some point in time. If there is not trust, then the parties cannot love in the way that Christ intended the parties should live. But back to your vows. Have you considered your vows? Have you looked again at your vows and considered this matter of for better or for worse, and what it really implies? Yeah, George, you were talking a lot about this red dress. So.
I'm here. I'm here to listen.
Yeah.
So regardless of the situation, the circumstances, you gotta work it through.
Morning.
Yes, sir.
My sister Lisa.
I think whatever comes your way. Spouse don't have to be unique, as it says, but honest. Like, you have to be honest with what you say. You keep. Don't forget share behind you. Rudolph, take it quiet.
Alright, to go back to the text, and it's describing the marriage here between two people, George and Erica, so that you don't mix up what's happening. It says for better. This means that Erica is in a good mood. When she shines radiantly with love for George. When she is kind and funny, just the way he likes her. When George is thoughtful and responsible. When he is simultaneously affectionate and sarcastic, just the way she likes him. And so that when you see all the good things that you admire in that partner comes up, so the marriage is nice.
There's no Erica, by the way, right?
Yeah, but there's the other side of it now, for worse. This means that when Erica is disrespectful and selfish, when she is tired and irritable, when she feels insecure and acts jealously, when George is thoughtless and rude, when he betrays her and disregards her feelings, when he is arrogant and prideful, when he finds a problem with her red dress. These are some of the other side. Now, how do you react to that side of it?
Badly,
Yeah.
if you want me to be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
Shut your mouth.
Zip Philip.
Got the plastic arrow, shut your mouth and go downstairs.
In the basement.
Or the garage.
I think especially after you've been in a relationship for like a number of years, 15 plus, you just expect so much for the other person, whether it's male or female here, right? Spousal. You expect them to understand and to know because you've spent that much time. And when you don't get that understanding, or, well, hey, you don't know me and it's been, you should, I think that's where the irritability comes in and the, you're just not that courteous anymore.
And that is really a common thing, because very often, as we said before, most of the time you just think about the wedding day and you hardly think beyond that. And as we discovered the things that you were supposed to check out before marriage, very often you don't. So that after marriage now, these things crop up, they will. And you begin to find out, well, there's something about the spouse you did not really know, or you didn't understand, you didn't think so far. And that can lead to disillusionment. And this often happens in marriage. So it's important that you consider the folks and realize that they're a lifetime commitment. They're meant to be a lifetime commitment. It's not for now and tomorrow, but for all the tomorrows. Right? And it's meant to be for better or for worse. And because in courtship, you see the good side of the persons. Right? We had a saying, come see me and come live with me. A different thing. And sooner or later, you find out that come living with me is not just like come see me. So what happens then? So marriage must take all of this into consideration. And you're already married. If these are things that you haven't worked out, you've got to work them out now. And you've got to realize that this is a lifetime commitment. It's not something that you can opt out of tomorrow because you don't feel good about it today. Right? It's permanent.
For better, for worse.
I think pastors are doing that.
better for worse. I heard at the beginning, it's a little bit, so I might have missed some points, but some people say keep your mouth shut. And I'm wondering if keeping your mouth shut sometimes is not hurting the relationship, because if my spouse needs to understand me a little bit more, how can she get to execute that if I just sit down in the house with my mouth shut?
Let's take opinion on that, right? We'll talk about it a little bit later.
I think this vow thing, I think expectation is, can I say hell? It's a hell. It's a hell of a thing. In that, in other words, we shouldn't lose sight of the vow. In that, the vow says one thing, but we expect something different, or it's going to be done in a certain way. And sometimes I think that's where the disappointment comes in that we expect so much. And the vows are pretty much kind of self-explanatory in the sense of for better, for worse. You know, we don't like the worst part. You know, we all like the nice and rosy and dandy part of
We
it.
sign a contract with everything, worse or good. Everything.
So I think our expectations could put a different spin on this whole thing.
Yes, and very often our expectation of the spouse is that that spouse must be perfect,
Right,
and we're not considering our own imperfections.
right,
Right? And this is what causes the problem, a lot of the problem.
right. Like you talked about that, the red dress. And we really want the honest opinion, but when we get that opinion, we get upset. But we might think that more kindly from a close friend or from a child, as opposed to your husband telling you to stop in that dress. We see it as a put down.
Yeah, but that raises another point, and that is that your spouse should really be your best friend.
And be honest.
Your spouse should be your best friend. That's how it should be. Well, I can say my wife is my best friend. Yes, you know, your spouse should really be your best friend. The person you can confide in, the person who knows you better than anyone else. And the good thing about a good friendship is that a good friendship can sift out the wheat from the chaff when things go awry, when you're at your worst. A friend wouldn't judge you on the outside of it, but a friend will go beneath that and recognize that there's something that is irritating you, that is causing you to behave in this way. And so a good friend will be able to sift out the wheat from the chaff. Whereas a casual relationship now will just take you at face value.
Pastor Patrick, I'm a new member. But in my experience of marriage, right, to me, like just to me, right, I think the starting of it with the vow is one of the most important things in a marriage. Now, as a Christian, you remember the vows for better or for worse, in sickness or in death, and all of these things. But when things do happen after a period of time in marriage, and things will happen, for good or for bad, better or for worse, things will happen.
Exactly.
Right? But when you think about the vow that you make, you're not thinking about making a vow before pastor or before the congregation or before anything. You're making a vow to God. First of all, think about that vow between God and man. And when you remember these things, that you make a vow to God, in that sense, you will humble yourself in whatever situation, whether you're wrong or you're right. You will think about that vow for better or for worse, and you will humble yourself and bear with it in whatever situation. Now that's for me. I don't know about the other party, because you don't think for them. You don't think for the other party. But you think about along your line, where you're going, And the vow that you make and the stand that you make is between God and you, not between man.
Exactly. That's why we said that, it's a three-party thing. It's not just two parties.
Definitely. See, and if we think about these things along marriage life journey, things will be better. It doesn't mean things are going to be smooth. We will have ups and downs and everything, but we will know how to deal with it just because of that vow that we make, and we cherish that vow that we make.
Exactly.
It may hurt, yes, but hey, this is what we said in the very beginning to God.
Yeah.
And if we continue with that vow and cherish it in that way, in a godly way, then things will, God will work out things for us.
We always do.
I met a man once, he was looking for a job, right? He and his wife came down after they were encouraged by their relatives to come to America, So he sold out everything that he had in Guyana and he came down here. And they happened to live in Westchester. So he started looking for a job, and apparently jobs aren't easy to get in Westchester. So he kept looking, the wife got a job, she was working, and after a few months, the sister to whom they were staying got tired and said, you're lazy and you got to, the usual thing. Right? So he started, widening the circle of his search. Eventually he got to New York where I met him. And he was so desperate. He said, look, all I want now is to get enough to raise a passage. He said, look, I got, we came down here, we sold everything, wife got a job, he can't get a job. He had to borrow money from the wife to come to New York to look for this job. So he said to her, let's go back home. She said, well, look, I got a job, you don't have a job. If you want, you can go back home. I'm staying here. Right? So you see what can happen, how the worst side plays an important part. Now I don't know eventually what happened, but at that point when I met him, all he wanted was to get enough to get a passage to go back home. For better or worse.
And it was far.
Now what happens then? What happens when you meet that kind of situation? And it can happen to any of us.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You can be the boss one day and you can be without a job the next day. What happens then? You see, and these are things that you need to consider as you look at your vows and look at this whole thing of marriage. It's not just today. It's something that goes on. It's not always going to be rosy. There are going to be thorns among the roses. And so, this is what marriage is about. So, moving on now, let's look at this matter of confession, and this is where the bear's observation will come in. Confession. Anybody read that chapter? You're supposed to read these chapters.
Yeah.
Anybody open the book?
All right. Now the author tells a simple story that we can all relate to, and we've all experienced that kind of thing in our youth, and some continue to experience that kind of thing in adulthood. You do something wrong and you try to cover it up. I remember in our case, my mother used to buy these, these cans of condensed milk. And you bore 2 holes and you use that for a week. But you know what happens? Condensed milk is very attractive. Right? And you always feel that you would never know. Because you take it in small bits, but you take it frequently. So, you know what happens? Right? And we all try to do that. It might be condensed milk for you, it might be something else. But we try to cover up. Now, we bring that kind of thinking into adulthood. And very often, the things we do, we try to cover up. Anybody experience that? We got a pack of saintly people here.
I have heard before, Pastor Patrick, I was talking to this young lady, she was telling me that, all right, Pastor, and she was telling me that she was going through this thing with her marriage, and she was at the point of just throwing in a towel because she couldn't get past what her husband was telling her. And what he was saying is that I'm not going to divulge everything to spare you hurt. In other words, because he don't want to hurt her, he wasn't going to disclose certain things about his past. What do you think about that?
Franklin will probably remember long ago they had this song. Does he ask you to tell him about the love you've had? And when you try to change the subject, does it make him mad? Right, some things are better left unsaid. Remember that, Franklin? Or you were too young for that? Yes. You don't remember that? Some things are better left unsaid. That's what the song says. Yes. All right? So what we're looking at here now is this matter of confession. And
you see, sometimes people also about to remember like Joseph, right? What he went through. I mean, that he could have exposed her, right? But then he did not, right? He went and he after the Lord spoke to him and everything, right? And he did what he had us to do. But before that, in his selfish act, he could have been outside there with the tendency, all kind of thing. Right? But he didn't do that.
That's a useful word.
He trusted the Lord. It's the same thing. He trusted the Lord and the leading God and guided him. And that is exactly what we should be doing in marriage. I mean, it's hard. It's tough.
Right.
Not talking.
So this whole matter of confession now has to do with openness, and she says there's secrets and consequences. Right? Secrets have consequences. Just as our actions have consequences. The thing is, what role does it play in marriage? What should we expect in marriage? Well, that's what marriage is. Because marriage is supposed to be a oneness. Strike for a oneness between the two parties. And if there is going to be a oneness, then I want to think that secrets should not exist. Anybody follow me?
Yeah.
Do you agree with that? Good. So, this is where confession comes in. Some confession might be simple. The one she described in this story where the chap just bought beef from a different source. I mean, that's an easy one.
Yeah.
And that's not the kind of confession you have in mind as we're looking at this here. Right? It's the more serious offenses that might be committed in a marriage, and sometimes even before the marriage. Right? What do we do about that?
Actually, Pastor, when I was reading this, I was looking to see what it was all about. When I saw the beef, I'm like, really? That's it? There's even more major stuff, that marriages go through, but yeah.
Yes, but the more serious stuff is what we're interested in.
Yeah.
Right? It's not the beef. It's the more serious stuff. Now, how do you feel about that?
Confessions could be good, yes. Because if perchance you don't confess about certain things about your past, then she does find out that creates a bigger problem. Because she can want to know why you had to hide this thing from her all this time. And you never tell her, and she got to find out from someone else.
And she will find out.
Yes, she will find out.
She will find out.
You better to be open with everything that you know.
All right, that's your view. Right? Anybody has a contrary view? Damn it.
And not contrary so much as just to contribute. Maybe it does start with little things like the beef story. Because it becomes a slippery slope. So I think if you're in the habit of confessing and fully disclosing the truth to your partner with yourself, maybe it fosters an environment of empathy and compassion, which I think is so important too in every relationship. Not only with others, but with yourselves as well. Because I think people either because they're afraid, maybe of hurting the other person or the consequences. So I think it's important to fully disclose, whether big or small, but it starts with the tiny things and maybe fostering that kindness with the partner of just being open.
Yeah, but if something happened before negative, why would you drag it into your relationship now?
That's
That already happened.
I don't know.
You don't carry the whole baggage you had before. Leave the bag behind. You guys got to come. You confess before God, and then you move on. You might tell her the problem that already happened, and they will tell her a different story.
That's the thing.
And then when the wife asks you, she asks you, what was that about? Then you tell her the truth. She will say, well, somebody's telling her something different. So it's two conflict coming together now. What should she believe?
She can look at you
Well,
on different.
exactly, that's the problem, that if you don't tell her, somebody else will tell her, that version might not be the truth, it might be different from the version that you want her to know. And that's where the problem comes in. So, back to the matter of confession. Yes, Doctor?
I would say that sometimes, like in the olden days, when you're dating someone, the parents would get involved also. So sometimes what happens is that sometimes a person may have a bad past. They had certain things that they're not proud about. And then when you meet this person, sometimes if they confess right away, well, look, this is what happened, then the parents would say, oh, this person is not good for you. And as such, a relationship can be terminated based upon the parents, who a lot of children, and in those days, would kind of look up to the parents. If the parents say, oh, well, look, I don't think this person is good for you, then they would deviate from that. They would say, well, okay, and they would believe it. So what happened? Sometimes people would conceal that information, and that is where trust comes in. So as the trust develops, later on, people probably sit down with that person and divulge that information. The reaction might be different than if immediately you say that, because sometimes a person may react impulsively or based upon their emotions, and the relationship may not proceed.
But then that could go flip side too, where they could say, well, why you didn't tell me?
That's why I said trust.
Exactly. Sometimes we don't feel our parents know enough, and most of us here feel our parents don't know enough.
Right.
You know, only to find out later on
that
they didn't know enough, and they knew more than you ever knew. Right? But the thing is, do we confess or not? Right? Yes.
I think in life, as you journey, there's always what you call at the best moment to have a certain discussion. And I believe that with this class, this type of setting, I can say that I have a confession to make. And I believe that going forward with my wife, that she's going to be more comfortable sharing things that she might not want to bring on the table. And I am beginning to feel more comfortable. So I think that when you're prepared and you keep Christ in the center of what you're doing here, you're going to find that what you were worried about talking about, you're going to find that you're going to be compelled to share it. You're going to find joy in sharing it because you know that your spouse is not going to react negatively. That's my confession.
Yes. You see, confession comes into the picture when we think about the fact that what we're trying to develop in a marriage is trust.
Right.
Right? You're trying to develop trust. And if there are secrets, then there can't be trust. Right? Would you trust somebody who's holding a secret from you? Right? And you know, we like to think, well, you know, this happened before. But here, you don't leave the baggage behind you when you get into a relationship. You bring that baggage with you. And that's why you got so much problems in marriages, because you can't leave that baggage behind you. It's part of you. So to say, hey, this happened before, is not good enough. The other person needs to know, well, do I want to contribute to fetching that baggage or not? You see? And therefore, as I see it, confession is important. And we must confess, this is what I am. Right? This is what you're getting. It's not, well, this and something else that I'm not revealing. You see? So it comes to that point, do I want to have complete trust in my partner? Do I want my partner to trust me completely? Right? And if that is what you want, confession becomes important. We come take it, look at this way, we come to God and recognize that we're sinners. Now, am I going to confess certain things to God and not other things? My confession must be complete. If I don't confess completely, then I still have guilt within me. The same thing happens in a marriage. If you only confess part of the story and you're reserving part, there is still that guilt in you, and you know that you can't get rid of it. Because it's always going to bug you. So confession.
I ain't got no secret, but here's the thing. Suppose that this guy figured if he say or tell, he's gonna lose her. He ain't gonna say nothing.
That's right.
Yes, well, often this is what we say, we think. But don't you think that the girl should want to know this?
I think that she don't know or she don't know.
You get married to her, and then later on she finds out.
But finding out later down the line,
When
he's
you're already
already married, but he can work that out somewhere else.
The fact is you can't escape whether before or after. There has to be this confession, and this is the point we're looking at.
But how could it be so devastating that could cause such a turnaround?
Yes,
Unless you kill somebody.
because she's linking her life with you and she's bearing your baggage too. And she needs to know that.
This is something I've heard from other men too. It's a fear that they have of losing a woman. And the woman just wants to know who she's with. She's not going to hate you or discard you.
Who tell you that?
You shouldn't be worried about losing another person. You have God. He'll bring the right person into your life. If you have real faith, I think that's how you should look at this. But I've heard men say that all the time, and even in the past, it's like that's the concern. And the women are going, well, I wish you could tell me everything. That's all they want to know. They just want to know the truth. And the men are like, well, if you knew the truth, you wouldn't be with me right now. That's really what the men are saying. You know? And so it's just like this gender, it seems like a gender-specific concern. You know, and I'm sure there are outliers on the men and the female side too.
Well, you sit down and tell the woman the truth, and then somebody else tell the woman something, the same thing, and then she said she confused now.
But it's funny because like, if you approached it from the beginning,
The one question herself,
with full disclosure,
Who is lying and who
you have to,
isn't.
you know, defer to.
and then you to your own stomach, belt the truth out, and then she said, you lie.
But I mean, that's her prerogative. You got to understand that's her prerogative.
But then how does that affect the vows now? If you don't disclose certain things after the vows, you find certain things out that you just can't handle back.
But, well, you see, this is the problem. If we don't do that before, that's where a problem comes in. Now, why didn't you tell me before? Now, the question of trust there comes in the consideration. Now, can I trust you now? Right? So you see where the marriage is heading. Right now, you're already hooked up. Right? And she feels, and you feel, well, look, we can't break up, but is there trust? Is there mutual trust? Can she trust you? Or can you trust her?
A next way that I think that we can look at that, Pastor Patrick, is that the couples themselves have to decide that, you know, from now on, whatever the past was, we're going to let it be the past. And from now on, we're going to have a new beginning. Come Haggai, come with me. We have a new beginning, and we're going to let it past be whatever it is. And so both persons come to mutual agreement. Now, if there's not that mutual agreement, then there's some digging has to be. So somebody will say, well, why is it that you don't want me to bring back the past or whatever the case may be? And then that's when the time will come when the person will say, okay, this is what I feel. You might not be able to handle what the truth is, or handle what the reality of this is, or something like that. But it has to be discussed in a way where there is an agreement that the past is past. Like, okay, we will say, okay, you had previous boyfriends or girlfriends. Sometimes it's not the most healthy thing to go and discuss the relationship that you have with those people in the past. That is the past. It is best thing to leave those things aside and you move forward. But that has to do with each couple. There are some couple who will say, I can handle that. There are some who say, I don't want that. I want to know. Even though it may hurt, it may cause some problem, it might be better that it come out then and create the problem before it comes out later.
Yeah, but the thing is, even those who say, well, okay, it doesn't matter, there's still a question in your mind. You might agree with ours, it doesn't really matter, because that is the past. But there's still something in the mind. Now, what could have happened? What happened then? Can it happen again? There is still that matter to be cleared up. And this is where I think confession is important. Because we want to build trust, that she can trust me completely and I can trust her completely. So whilst we might agree, well, okay, the past is in the past, and I mean, face it, the past is in the past, you know, but I have to come to that place where I accept that and not just say, well, yes, the past is in the past. I must be settled in my mind that the past doesn't affect how I think and how we go on from here. Right? So there has to be confession for that to happen, for that trust to begin, to grow. There has to be confession.
Yeah, Pastor Patrick, I think, you know, what Pastor said is true, right? Also, true forgiveness without confession, like what you was before and what you think, and you bring into your marriage life. True forgiveness is forgetting the past. Because I forgive you. If I forgive you, I will remember that and only throw it in your face all the time.
It's letting it go.
Definitely.
It's letting it go.
But it don't happen so.
Right.
That is easier said than
You have to
done.
let it go. Right.
All I would say is, I mean, in every relationship, there could be levels of maturity. Then people can say, well, let's sit down and discuss it, like man and woman, and let's come to some common understanding or resolution. Then there are others that are going to be on the far spectrum where they're like, you know, they just can't deal with it. So even though theoretically it sounds good to say, well, let's sit down and let's hear out our differences and see if we can resolve it amicably, it sounds good. From a very practical standpoint, there are a lot of situations where people just can't have that level of maturity to deal with it. So the partner, one partner might be trying to gauge how the other person is going to react. And if you're going to reach that threshold where they're going to shut you off and maybe badmouth you or whatever the case may be. And so there's going to be a bit of a struggle for a lot of people. Where is the level of your maturity in your marriage or relationship or whatever you have? And that would be where I think our biggest problem would be. If you have somebody who could say, well, let's sit down and talk about it, let's go in the room, let's thrash it out, let's bring everything we laid on the table, fine, that's good.
Yeah.
Not everybody can do it.
Now, you remember
You
when
could
we
do
talked about, you know, this unequal yoking?
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean different religions.
I'm not even talking about unequal yoking. You can still have two people who are in a marriage or in a relationship, but their levels of maturity in that relationship. They're both Christians, they both believe in God. Some may say, well, I don't want to deal with that now. Or some people say, well, I'm going to deal with it and discuss that later when I think the moment is appropriate, except that the moment never comes and then you forget about it, but then that's baggage that you carry in your marriage.
Just to add to that too, not only do we carry around different levels of maturity and personality types, but different people carry around different amounts of shame as well. So guilt and shame, I think people are afraid sometimes to disclose the truth because they've been shamed in the past. So,
But should that exist in a marriage?
not at all, but that's personal. You have to look at yourself and say, what am I so ashamed of? And who am I afraid of? Because really, it's only God that you fear.
Exactly.
But I'm just saying
Either
that I
that.
think people carry around different amounts of shame too. So sometimes you shouldn't be ashamed of the beef thing at all, but maybe that's an issue for somebody, you know? So that's also something.
Yeah, this is Daniel, wanted to realize that. I had a situation where it bothered me for a long time. Something that happened before marriage. And after marriage, my wife didn't deal with it because I shared it. Because she asked me a question, I gave her an answer. But it bothered her. And the fact that it was bothering her for a long time, it began to bother me. And I said, Lord, you gotta help me to get past this because anyhow, what it was a I'm sharing this to show you how different angles, different approaches, different timing will resolve an issue. Correct. You gotta be bold enough to realize that something good has to be done. Anyhow, it was a relationship, and I struggled. How can I get my wife comforted? And I search out this past relationship, and I found her husband, and I begged for an invitation to the house because I said I gotta make this introduce my wife to this person that she's worried about. Right? And thank God we were able to find the residence, and we had a sit-down moment. casual sit-down moment, and from that day forward, it's like a burden lifted off my shoulder.
That's a level of
Now,
maturity.
you would tell me that I'm crazy, but I got relief.
But does that,
And I hope she got relief.
but does
Yes,
that,
definitely.
does she comfortable hearing that and make your marriage better?
Yes, because
Honestly.
sometimes you can't go forward without a little. Sometimes the past is running to you down the street. You might not go looking for it, but you run into the fence. At a funeral or head into the fence.
Yes, sir.
But the only recommendation I have here at this point, or suggestion, would be if the couple, wherever the level of maturity is, some people can come to an understanding, they say, well, let's go before God as a couple. And put these matters before God as a couple. With Him as witness, with Him as judge. I believe that it will set the stage for some openness between whatever issues that they have. And then the dialogue will go forward from there.
All right, good. Next week, we'll look at the suggestions here. Okay, right at the bottom here. Good timing, full disclosure, ask for forgiveness, no excuses. We'll talk about that. Because this matter of confession is important, as you can see. There are different things expressed here. Right? But if we are going to develop trust in a relationship, there has to be confession. If you're going to develop a relationship with God, there has to be confession. There can be a good relationship with you or your spouse, there has to be that confession. It's the only way that trust can be built. If you don't, something is going to come somewhere, as you say, you don't go looking for the past, and it comes behind you. You face it, so at some point in time, it's going to happen. And when it happens, then you got a bigger problem. How do I explain it? And how do I explain why I did not explain it to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, Pastor Patrick, even though confession is good, true, genuine confession, and we all should confess. Whether past, present, or future, we should be confessing whatever. But in that instant, okay, I confess to my wife, she forgave me, and everything. But what about the instant of the 20 things to happen that keep coming back up? Is that true forgiveness? Because God forgives us, He don't bring up these things. It's not that He forgets, right? But you don't throw it back in the face. So bring it up.
Yes, Papa. Yes, Papa.
So I'm asking this, but is it true forgiveness?
Yeah, so hopefully we'll explore that and we'll find out all the
Yes, sir. No, the question is out there. It's just,
love the Lord. Yeah. All right, thank you.
Your question, this one. Do I bring that?
Hey, because
I should have
The best thing is to come and make these things known that you have to go to.
Junior Robinson wasn't
Because they might get it on the head if they have a fire of
Yeah, no problem.
Morning, how are you? Just
Ow.
out of the way.
Oh, sorry.
You're fine, you're alright.
You didn't see that, right?